And welcome back, and we're on to the 6th of February, the higher plus 5 a day, and let's go with the first question. Okay, looks like we've got a nice simple one to start. Write down the exact value of tan 0. Well, I know my tan curve does this, so therefore 0 is to 0, so this one equals 0. Probably the easiest question we've had so far. We've got another one now. Write down the exact value of tan 60. Well, again, there are a few ways of doing this, and frankly, hopefully you just remember, but the way you may have been taught is, let's imagine we have an equilateral triangle. Let's divide that triangle into two, and let's assume the length of my triangle is 2, which means that's the 1, and this here is the square of 2 minus the square of 1, which is 4 minus 1, which is root 3. Now, tan is opposite over adjacent. So if I know this angle, because remember I told you it's an equilateral triangle is 60, so therefore tan equals opposite over adjacent, which is root 3 over 1. So in other words, this is going to be root 3. Next question. Find the area of the triangle, give your answer in surd form and as simply as possible. Okay, well, let's do that then. So firstly, to work out the area of a triangle, it is half the height times the base. And my base is going to be 7 squared minus 4 squared square rooted, which is 49 minus 16, which is 33. So this is going to be the square root of 33. Now, I'm not going to work out any other values like decimal values because it says leave your answer in surd form. So I'm just going to leave that as a square root of 33, which means that I can work out my area as a half, the height, which is 4, times the base, which is root 33. Half of 4 is 2, so my final answer, actually this isn't too bad at all, is 2 root 33. Question done. Next question. Given, that gives me a function, gives me another function, find f of g of x. Well, let's remember that means what is f of g of x. In other words, I am doing f of 4x squared. What does f do? F multiplies by 2 and adds 3. So 2 lots of 4x squared is 8x squared, and then I just add 3, and question done. That was a fairly straightforward question after the last one. Next question. A tile is selected at random, it is not replaced, so conditional probability again, and then another tile is selected. Work out the probability that both cards are O. Okay, so first thing, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles. The first pick being an O is 2 over 7. The second pick being an O is the remaining O divided by the 6 cards because there's one less. So that's going to give me, well, it's going to give me 2 over 42, but that's going to simplify down to 1 over 21. Not an awful question to finish with. Next question. Right, so what do we have? So solid hemisphere is shown and has a radius of 3 centimeters. And I'm going to write this on here because I like to write things as I go. So that's 3 centimeters, which is my R. The hemisphere is made from a material with density. Okay, so this is a density question, which means I need to remember that density equals mass over volume. Calculate the mass of the hemisphere. So therefore mass is going to be density times volume. So basically it's saying what is the density multiplied by the volume. So the density is 6.13 in grams and centimeters cubed. The radius is in centimeters, that's good. And then my volume is a half, because it's a hemisphere, times 4/3 pi r squared, where r is 3. So basically I'm just going to put this in my calculator. Let's just correct that. So 4/3 pi times r cubed. Oh, I think I said squared. So let's say that again clearly. The volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. I don't want half of that. So anyway, I've got 6.13 times a half times 4/3 pi times 3 cubed. Get my calculator out, and that is going to be, well, the calculator tells me 5517 over 50 pi, but I'm going to presume it wants a rounded number. So I'm going to press my S to D button or equivalent on your calculator, and that's going to tell me it's 346.6. Now, what am I doing? I'm doing the mass, and it says here grams, so it's going to be 346.6 grams. And that's today's question done. Usual thing as ever, if you got all those well done, we are really getting a nice little mix of questions so far this month, aren't we? So keep following the channel. Do like and subscribe, because as I often say, it really helps. You get to see the questions pop up in your feed, and just a little bit of maths each day really is going to help you, especially with these slightly tougher but still quite fun questions. See you for tomorrow. Thanks all.